Thank you so much, Dr. James Komolafe. It's always wonderful to hear you talk about how we can take on these tips to get our lives better. Believe us, from back here, we are trying our best. Now, moving on to the interview segment that we promised, we'll be talking about Nigeria's border, the quest, immigration service rather, and the quest for border security. We had talked about how porous our borders can be, but how can we ensure we know everyone that comes into the country? We would also get to talk about the passport reforms that's going on. We had read earlier in the papers that about 60,000 passports backlog was cleared in 4 days.
Emphasize 4 days.
What's different now? What's different, and how can we ensure this continues? Whatever body language is ensuring this happens, how can it continue and be sustained? We have in the studio Tony Akuneme. He's the Comptroller of Immigration FCT. He's also the SA Media to the CG of Immigrations. Thank you so much for being part of the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Joy was admiring your uniform behind the camera, so let's just say you look nice.
Thank you very much. It'll make me feel shy.
I know that's the whole idea. It will make you feel comfortable. Let's talk about immigration. You just celebrated 68th year anniversary of recent, and of course we have some recorded successes and recorded challenges. I don't want to call them failures, but challenges. One of it is our border securities, the porosity of our borders, especially when you're looking at Niger axis, you're looking at Cameroon axis. You know, we have a lot of porous borders, and we have seen the porosity of those borders affecting our internal security. So the question will now be, what role is the immigration playing to ensure that Nigeria as a sovereign nation has safer borders?
Well, if you take it back a little bit, I'd like to start by saying that, is there really any country that has watertight borders?
You're the one to tell us.
There's no such perfect security anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Mexicans are still finding their way to the US as we speak, in spite of all the technology and funds available at the US government's disposal. These things have to do with logistics. Nigeria is managing with a lot of challenges. We're still trying to cope with infrastructural development, human capital development. So there are budgetary challenges. So yes, Nigeria has a long stretch of borders, you know, like with several other countries. They are being policed as much as possible, you know, given the resources available, the human capital, the officers, the manpower, the logistics, the equipment. What we're trying to do these days is to move from the, you know, human policing to the technology policing. So there's what we call MIDAS, like Migration Information Data Analysis System.
Okay.
The Nigeria Immigration Service, in conjunction with some foreign countries that are helping under the aegis of International Organization for Migration, IOM, we have set up systems across the borders that can, you know, like locate everybody that is moving around the borders, even from the office of the Comptroller General here in the Airport Road in Saka here. You can view what's going on across all our recognized borders.
Recognized borders, right.
Yeah, because the challenge we have is what you call porous borders, we may call unrecognized routes.
Okay.
Okay? We can't post people to where you don't recognize as official border routes. Okay? But we have border patrol. We also have joint task forces all across these places we're talking about. I mean, made up of military, paramilitary. Immigration contributes men and materials to all the JTFs in this country.
Okay, that's the Joint Task Force?
Yes, you know, Maiduguri, wherever they are. We have our men there all through these years that we've been trying to, you know, like cope with insurgency and all that. So we are looking at how technology can help, because that's where the world is going actually. Right now, the Comptroller General is in China to meet with some, you know, like partners who are willing to come and help. And she traveled with almost like 5 or 6 of the top management. So it's a serious meeting. Huawei, the company, the Chinese company, they're interested in coming to help to fix like scientific or technological ways of checking people real time, like what is going on across the borders. So other than that, of course, we have immigration formations in all the Nigerian recognized borders.
Right.
And we have patrol teams that move around the other illegal routes that people still use. But like I said, we can't channel all our men to the border. And then nobody will be in the passport office, nobody will be at the airport, nobody will control the foreigners that work in Nigeria. So you have different sections. So, but we're doing our best. We just finished recruitment, and most of them are going to be channeled across the borders too. So we're doing our best, but there are budgetary challenges which the government is trying its best. But we can always do with more funding. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Speaking about the porous borders, recognized or not, there are, a couple of years ago there were those. I'm not sure how to put it. Immigration officers, personnel, I think, will go around. Somehow, you people just know that this person is not Nigerian. First of all, I'd like you to tell us how you get to know. You just see this person and you start questioning, and very often, they often are not Nigerians, do not even have documentations to be here. Do you still do that? How do you call it? Patrol. I think it's patrol and all that.
It's not very easy, especially because of the contiguity of where we come from or where we fall in. I mean, differentiating between a Nigerian and a Nigerian is not very easy. There are so many Yorubas in Togo. Yeah. So, and then the contiguity makes it that there could the mosque on Friday could be across the border. So are you going to stop people who are going to worship?
Exactly.
You understand? You could, in most of these countries, your service, your MTN service could be better across the border. So you see people like intermingling, intermarrying, the cultural connections and all that. So, but all the same, of course, everybody carries an identity, either a passport or your national identity card. So it's not difficult to ask somebody to present your document across the border. Once it's a recognized border, you can't pass it without, if you pass it 20 times, you have to be checked 20 times.
Now, talking about identity, and it's expected that every Nigerian should have a form of identity.
That's right.
Either a national passport or maybe NIN, the NIN now. The front papers, I know last week the CG had given a standing order that over 10,000 backlog of pending passports should be taken care of, and it was like good news on the paper today, and coincidentally you're our guest in the studio where we found out that 60,000 had been done in 4 days.
That's right.
And I'm wondering, like, something that had taken over several months to get done, what was the miracle? What magic did immigration pull out of its magic hat and then wave the wand, and then all of a sudden Nigerians have passports? Because the passport issue in Nigeria has been a source of concern for many people. If they're not telling you they're out of paper, laymen like me see paper everywhere. So we're wondering, what do you mean when you say, we don't have enough papers, or you have issues of multiple taxations? There's an official rate for how much passports should be, but we know that you might not admit it, but we Nigerians believe that there's a racket going on in terms of production of passports that are supposed to be their rights and their entitlement. So a twofold question.
That's right.
What magic happened? How come all of a sudden 60,000 has been done? And then should Nigerians expect to see this kind of sustainability in terms of the promptness in when they receive their passports?
Well, basically, the news, the media will always find a way to hype what is ordinary as far as I'm concerned. Because I can assure you that if you go to Nasarawa State and apply for a passport, you get it in 1 week.
Okay.
But if you go to Lagos, you can't get it in 1 week. You probably get it in 1 month or 2 months. So most of this hype about passport issues is in the Lagos area.
Okay.
And probably Abuja.
Okay.
Where you have the traffic, maybe Edo State. If you go to Imo State, nobody's complaining about their passports being stuck for months. Nobody. If you go to Zamfara, you probably could get it same day. Because it depends on traffic. It's garbage in, garbage out. I worked in the Nigerian embassy in Canada for 4 years. We issued like 12,000 passports, and we made sure everybody got it same day even, because there was no traffic. You can't do that in Rome, for instance, where you have like 1,000 people showing up the same day. In Ottawa, it's 20 people. In Switzerland, it's 10 people. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So the same thing, I don't believe all this hype about passport or backlog or this. It's particular for Lagos. As we speak, Lagos State has only 4 passport centers. I'm saying only because other states have just 1. And Lagos has 4, but it's still inadequate. The population in Lagos needs 10 passport offices to stem the so-called pressures. Okay? And like I insist, the hue and cry about passport scarcity is only in Lagos State. What I'm saying is only in Lagos State. Well, it's majorly in Lagos State. Any other place, you could walk around it. In Gwagwalada here, people get their passports within 2 or 3 weeks. And let me shock you. 70% of people that have passport delays have issues with their identity. A lot of Nigerians want you to give them 2 passports in 2 different names. We'll see it every day. People change their date of birth. People even change their places of birth. Have you seen anybody that is born in 2 places at the same time? Nigeria. You understand? So we need to be interrogating this thing. The media needs to also help us to caution Nigerians. Don't stick to your identity, for God's sake. The whole world is moving towards identity management. And it's only here that you see somebody that tells you, when I was getting this visa, they said I should reduce my age. The agent deceived me. Now my real age, I want my real age.
I've heard that story.
It's all over the place. And now the new NIN and the immigration integration process makes it impossible for you to run 2 date of births side by side. It's impossible because it's fingerprint based, it's chip based. So you have to decide who you want to be. I debated with a former ambassador who said, oh, immigration took 9 months to deliver her wife's passport and his wife's passport. And I'm saying, I challenge you to tell us what your wife was changing. And at the end of the day, she wanted all her names changed. Who does that? Which other country will change your first name, your middle name, your surname? You understand? And then you also want to change your date of birth? And then when
you're a new person.
You're a brand new person.
Yes.
And when we maybe by the time we find this out, you're already gone. You finished your capturing and you left. And we see that, oh, the NIN information is not corresponding with the passport information. And we need to get in touch with you, for God's sake. Please come back. Go sort this thing out. It's either you go and realign your NIN, or you tell us you prefer this data or you prefer that data. But we can't use the 2. Which one do you want? 80% of the times, because people don't apply for passports themselves, they use third parties. I don't want to say touts, but a lot of people don't fill these forms themselves. They always prefer to use somebody. It could even be an immigration officer, yes. Like you said, I will not deny that there are not immigration officers who are working against the reforms, who are sabotaging the system. That's their own IQ. They think that's how they'll survive. But I'm sure you can survive by using decent means.
By integrity.
Integrity,
yes.
Okay, over time. This is a 35-year job. So why do I want to be in a hurry to collect money from somebody at my level? I'll come and fill form for you. I'll advise you what to do, not to do it for you. Okay? But Nigerians always will be the one to ask you, I don't want to stand in the queue. I don't want to wait. How can I get it this? So you even set the immigration officer up for this corruption thing.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you show up and say I've filled my forms online and I got my appointment date is today, why would I tell you that I won't attend to you? Okay? So what I'm saying is that oftentimes when we even want to reach somebody because your application is not properly done, or your information is not tallying, you find out that the phone number there is also fake because the agent didn't put your number. He didn't even put his own these days. They just put 0800000 just to go to the next page. Okay, because if you don't fill that column, the system will let you go to the next page.
Okay.
So they just fill all sorts of numbers that don't work. So somebody will be stuck at that point, and we could wait for several weeks or months until the person shows up again. And meanwhile, he's in his house waiting for his passport, and we're waiting for you to come and correct your NIN, for instance. So all these things, they all go together to affect our job. But the thing, the Comptroller General and the leadership of NIMSI are working out an integration pattern whereby you can't even come to the passport office if you don't sort out your NIN issues.
Right.
That's I know for a fact, because when I renewed my passport, I had to go with my NIN, and then those were the documents that was necessary. So your NIN is mandatory. So it's good to know that we have some kind of data synergy between NIN and immigration.
Yes,
how do we know who are true Nigerians? Because we've had issues where we've said that we've had maybe, like you said, Nigerians or people from Cameroon, because we speak the same language with them, and then they have gotten Nigerian passports, but we know that they haven't naturalized as Nigerians according to the law and things like that. So how do you ensure that people, that corrupt aspect of our of the human being,
Nature, yeah.
their human nature, to ensure that the people that you do issuing passports to are actually Nigerians. Is that something possible?
Yeah, of course it's possible, but it's not cast in iron, yeah, because there are requirements for getting these passports, and it starts from your village, actually. You must show us that you are from, like me, Oru East local government in Imo State. You have to bring certificate of identity of your local government. And it is presumed that you can't get that certificate if your traditional ruler does not refer you to the local government.
Okay.
So how can an immigration officer know that this Ghanaian went to Epe and collected letter from the local government and then showed up in the passport office? Because you need that certificate of origin,
Okay.
and then you need your NIN,
Okay.
which shouldn't be easily available to a non-Nigerian, we assume. And then you need your birth certificate, which could be gotten from the courts. Like if you don't have the original,
An
the
affidavit
law
of
says you
age,
can get
a
an
declaration
affidavit.
of
So
age,
how
yeah.
are we going to position somebody in the court to make sure that the person getting this affidavit is a Nigerian? You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's about sensitization and it's about integrity. If everybody will do their job properly and probably get paid properly, get motivated properly.
I like that part.
like the
Get
part.
paid,
Yes.
get paid properly, because
Yes.
it's important.
It's important.
I
to
agree with
motivate
you.
The worker.
I do
They
agree
say
with
the
you.
worker deserves his wage. You understand what I'm saying? So I think most of our problem and this corruption thing goes back to, are we satisfied with the job we're doing? Is the work environment conducive? Is our children being taken care of? Is our healthcare being taken care of? They all come together. So I don't believe in anybody attacking just one portion of the society.
Without
Are we
looking at it
It's
holistically.
Nigeria Immigration Service. It's not Heavenly Immigration Service. So we can't be better than the system we operate in. That's what I believe. This is my personal opinion. If everything goes well, the transportation system is there, the housing system is there, the children's education is there, their healthcare is there, then probably the living wage is there. If I tell you how much I earn, you'll be shocked as a controller of immigration.
I wouldn't be, I know. I'm
Yeah.
a public servant,
You're a
so we
public
have
servant.
an idea.
So you have an idea. So
Yes.
those things go to tell on who you eventually become. Because I wish I could earn as much as my colleague in South Africa or in America earns, so that I can look you in the face and say, no, I don't want this your 5,000 naira. Go do this thing properly.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, and that's where we should be heading to at this stage in our country.
Yeah.
Our brothers in diaspora often also have issues, several of them bordering on passports,
That's
bordering on their legitimacy in the countries that they are in. How fast do the immigration system across the world really come to their aid in this?
Well, we
Or
have
the resources, is it also affecting?
no. Well, it will affect it definitely, because we post immigration attaches to all the Nigerian missions abroad, and there are over 100 missions abroad. So it's, of course, there is a lot of money. You have to pay them foreign service allowance in hard currency, and they go with their wives and 4 children, all at the expense of the Nigerian Immigration Service. We've been doing it over the years and been doing it well. There are still issues, like I said. Some embassies have higher crowds. New York, Rome, where else? Yeah, London.
Yeah, the
you
UK,
understand?
yeah.
If you go there, it's like a market square, and you can't help it.
You
You're not
have a
going
lot
to
more
drive
Nigerians
people
there.
away.
Yes.
They just have to be where they choose to be. Migration is pull and push syndrome. So people have to move from areas of more conflict or more turbulence to areas of less conflict and less
You
turbulence.
can't help that.
You can't help it. So all we're doing is to also make sure we put enough men and materials to try and contain the pressures. But I think on the average, Nigerians abroad, yes, those who, like I said, I know people who live in Switzerland who, if you go to the internet, they say, oh, immigration is the best here. Because we're not under pressure. But people in Italy will not say the same thing, because they are also crazy. They want things done the other way. They want to change their names. A lot of them came through the Sahara Desert. A lot of them came through the waters. Okay? And you ask them, they say, oh, the agent that brought us took our passport. I have somebody who says, I don't remember the name on my passport.
I do not remember.
Yes, because it was procured for him by all these traffickers and stuff. So now you're okay. Now you're free, like free where you are. You finish serving your master or your madam, and you're free, like, so to speak.
Yeah.
And now you want a passport in your real names, like Adobe or whatever. You understand?
Or Ifunanya.
Or Ifunanya, for instance. And you come to immigration, you make all the payments online, and when you put your hand in the system, in the fingerprint,
It brings out your
up
first
another
name.
person's identity
Yeah.
with your face. I've heard people
But in
quarrel.
such instances, what do you then do?
Yeah, we first of all, you have to accept that you
That
have
you-
two identities. A lot of people deny, because I've seen people who will say, when you turn the computer around and say, are you not this person in this picture? You got this passport in Asaba. You got it in 2008. You're wearing a red dress. You say, Chineke, I didn't know it's me. I didn't know that passport I got that time is the e-passport you're talking about. Oh. I thought it's another one. I don't even know where it is. Somebody took me to the immigration office and put my fingers and everything. And the agent, I didn't see him again. So I had to find my way through the land borders to Europe.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's a lot of
this
stories.
takes us back to the conversation of national security, and they were looking at human trafficking. Human trafficking is a very big issue, and it has been on the increase in Nigeria. And you have told us, because I had two questions before you brought this up. I was going to talk about arms proliferation and human trafficking. We seem to have an increase in, we seem to have an increase in this. So what is the immigration doing to curtail the number of people illegally trafficked? Because I know that we've had cases where a lot of young Nigerians, especially women, are taken for sex slaves, and then they're sold into prostitution rings, and then later, like you said, they buy their freedoms at ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
We've heard of the horrible stories that happened in Libya, where people are treated like even worse than slaves, that the conventional way we grew up hearing that slave trade was all about. So how is immigration coming in to help curb this tide of Nigerians being trafficked as slaves for different purposes?
Yeah, most of what we're doing is about sensitization. A lot of times, even parents agree for their children to be trafficked, especially from certain parts of the country. Okay, so we have to help the media to sensitize Nigerians, young people in particular. A lot of people don't believe that the fish farming they're doing is more lucrative or more sustainable than going to Europe, where you don't even know what you're going to face. A lot of people get deceived by these madams, and they say, oh, there is work for you, just come. I've seen cousins take cousins away. Sisters take their younger sisters away and subject them to these things. So how are you going to stop a sister taking a sister abroad? You understand?
Yes.
But there are agencies in Nigeria who are helping, like NAPTIP, to fight trafficking. We're collaborating with them. We're collaborating with the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. We're collaborating with International Organization for Migration. They're really doing a whole lot, even about helping to reintegrate the victims that come back. Some decide they want to come back, some escape and come back. So most of what we're doing is to strengthen the border, the security at the approved official borders. Okay, you can't pass any Nigerian border assuming you're underage, for instance, and you're unaccompanied. We have to find out who you are, where you're going. A lot of times you see a young man, he says he's going to Malaysia. You're going to do what? You're going to study. And how much do you have? $500. How can you? It's not possible. So we won't let you go, because $500 is not enough to pay your school fees. So that means somebody somewhere is waiting for you, just wants you to cross over, and then what you do with yourself, you don't know. There's a lot of that going on, but we are delving more into sensitization, because I think a lot of families, a lot of communities need awareness that not everything that glitters is gold. Not every offer of taking you abroad is in your interest.
What about arms proliferation? Because we've seen that there are lots more arms, illegal arms in the number of people. When you look into the northwest, you have issues of Boko Haram. You wonder where they get ammunitions. In the southeast, you have the IPOBs and unknown gunmen and gunmen. You know, so we see so many secessionist groups coming up, and these groups are not just coming up vocally, they're coming up fully armed. We know that arms smuggling is a very lucrative business for anybody that's involved in it. So talking about border safety, is that also a source of concern for the immigration services? And well, how are you tackling it?
Yeah, of course, security, border security is a core mandate for the Nigeria immigration. But don't forget that oftentimes we don't deal with what you carry. We deal with you as a person, your documents. the Nigerian customs deals with what people bring in or
Okay.
take out.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I'm in a position to be able to defend how they do their job.
Exactly.
But we all collaborate
Okay.
to secure the country. So I cannot speak authoritatively about goods that come in or services, but I can speak about human beings that use the borders. And we're really, really doing our best. We're also collaborating. There is a lot of synergy, interagency synergy that is going on now more than before, and the joint task forces and all that. But all I can say is that I think the question will be better dealt with by the customs spokesman.
Customs officials. That's a very diplomatic way of answering it.
Thank you.
So let's come back to immigration in the FCT, because basically what we've talked about now is basically immigration generally.
Yeah.
And then you are the one in charge of immigration in the FCT.
That's right.
What should we as residents of the FCT expect differently from your organization? You know, I mean, it's the Federal Capital Territory.
That's right.
We have a new minister in town, a new sheriff in town, and there are lots of you know, shake-ups and movements that are happening. So what is immigration bringing to the table to the FCT residents this administration?
Yeah, basically our job in the FCT is to make immigration services more accessible. The passport, for instance, FCT residents can now get their passports from the Gwagwalada office faster than before, seamlessly as possible. As long as the basic things are necessary, within a few days you can get your appointment. Before it took a few weeks to get an appointment, but we've made sure that we've removed all the bottlenecks and all the human factors and all that, and sensitize our officers and try to reorientate them and make them understand that this is what you have to do if you really want to be part of service delivery. The Comptroller General is passionate about delivering service to Nigerians at the barest minimum hassle or, you know, like obstacles. So we're keen into the Comptroller General's vision of welfare for officers, motivation for officers, more training for officers, and we're also taking the issue of resident permits and visas for the foreigners who are in FCT to the next level. They can get it faster than before because every
resident
foreigner
permits and visas.
Yes.
Does immigration deal with that?
Of course, that's our core mandate. I mean, all the expatriates who are in Nigeria,
Okay, for
they have to
expats.
come register with us.
Okay.
So there's a migration registration center in the FCT in Gwagwalada where all the foreigners come to bring their information, key it into our database, so we have an idea of who is in the country.
Okay.
Of course, most of the crimes or some of the crimes that are committed in the FCT are also committed by non-Nigerians. So immigration,
yes,
yeah.
especially when you're looking at cattle rustling and
all
then
those
farmer headers.
you know,
Most
and
of
then,
them are
stealing of
neighboring.
things. People who
Yes.
say that they are doing they are into scrap business. They move from one dustbin to the other.
Scavengers.
Scavengers.
Yes.
Some of them are not Nigerians. So that's why we are also part of the FCT Security Administration Network or setup, and we attend monthly meetings with the FCT minister on security meetings, and so we are there with the police, side by side with the civil defense, with the DSS. All of us are collaborating to help make FCT more secure, actually.
Okay, that sounds very commendable.
Thank you.
Right.
That sounds very commendable. I like the part where you talked about, we have a few more minutes to go, but before we go, talking about workers' welfare, because I believe and I strongly agree, especially those of you, will I call you paramilitary, that, you know, deal with security issues, need a certain kind of remuneration to ensure that, you know, you get value for what you're giving out to the nation. Are there talks about, you know, some of those things that would help motivate your officers to perform better? So with the new Comptroller General, should we be expecting that she'll be pushing to see that, you know, workers' welfare is also part of the things on the table for this administration?
Yeah, the Acting Comptroller General of Immigration, Mrs. Wurola Adepoju, since she came on board 2 months ago, she has already hit the ground running in terms of, walking the talk of officers' welfare. She has rolled out the transport system that takes officers, especially the junior officers, back and to work and back from work around Abuja. She's going to launch the Lagos axis very soon. We're also talking to developers. There are housing schemes coming up.
That's a good one.
Yeah, there are some housing schemes coming up in Buhari area. and also in Kuje area for officers, and this is coming up like on mortgage basis. What you see abroad, you
Yes.
could actually rent to
Rent
own
Rent
the
to
house.
own. Oh, that's awesome.
So she's bringing a lot of changes and dynamism into the administration, and I think some of these things, officers are already showing the signs of happiness or excitement that they get. Younger officers are going to get 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom apartments, and they just deposit like $500,000, and then it takes 25 years to pay off.
Awesome.
And that's what we're working on now. And so I think we believe that she has the vision and she came prepared. She's been in immigration for like 30 years or more, so she's ready and willing to also work with younger ones like us who also are willing to support her.
Younger ones like you.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited that it was a woman.
Yeah, but before you go, I'd just like for people who are listening to you and probably still have questions without having to go all the way to the office, how can they reach you or reach the office? I know you say you're trying to train your staff, but some might still be recalcitrant. So how can they reach
the public
the
relations department has a very vibrant social media handles.
Right.
We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram,
Right.
and my number is on all these social media handles. My cell phone number, my personal mobile phone number, I had to do it because I was the immediate past service PRO, like national spokesman, before I got promoted to a controller. And because the Comptroller General doesn't want me to go so far like Lagos or Port Harcourt, he kept me in the FCT
As SA
and made me his SA on media. So that way I still coordinate the media runs, and we make sure that we treat people's complaints almost like instantly. And then people can reach us on.
Well, you're doing a good job for the media, I must say that. So thank you so much for being on the program. We've been talking with Tony Akuneme. He's the Comptroller of Immigration in the Federal Capital Territory and also the Special Assistant to the Comptroller General of Immigrations. Many thanks for being on the program, but I can guarantee you we're going to drag you again to some more. So just keep yourself ready for our next invitation.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then that's how we wrap up this segment, and then we go join the Investment Plus team for our business news, and then we'll be having our second interview. Our guest is in the studio. So do stay with us. The conversation continues shortly.